What's up, guys? Welcome to Dungeon Dwellers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. So today, we're going to do another weekend movie review roundup. Today, we're going to review three films. Mr. Vampire, the 1985 horror comedy film. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Plantasm, the new Aqua Teen Adult Swim film that came out this year. And Wizards 1977, directed by Ralph Bakshi. Right? So first, we're going to start off with the first film I saw this weekend, which was Mr. Vampire, which is produced by famous kung fu comedy star Sammo Hung, which I haven't seen a lot of his films. When it comes to Hong Kong movies, I'm more of a fan of Stephen Chow, Chow Yun-fat, Donnie Yen to some extent, Jet Li obviously, but no, I haven't really seen a lot of Sammo Hung movies. But I first the reason why I saw this film was because I was I was still in the mood for wuxia films after watching. After watching, what was the movie I just reviewed? Oh my Christ! The Bride with White Hair, right? So I saw a top 10 list, and they had this movie, which I wouldn't exactly call wuxia, even though this is somewhat of a fantasy film, but not really. But yeah, the movie is directed by Ricky Lau and stars Lam Ching-ying as Master Gao, Chin So-ho as Chao Sang, Billy Lau as Y, Moon Lee as Ting Ting, Pauline Wong as Jade, and Bao Yun as Hopping Corpse. Which this is a horror comedy film featuring China's most famous hopping vampires. Which I thought they were zombies, but apparently this film they're vampires. Which I first heard of first seen these things in an episode of Shaman King, where they had a Bruce Lee knockoff as this hopping corpse who was the guardian spirit of Lenny's sister, which he's called Ren in the manga, right? And this movie is about these two apprentices at a mortuary that work for this priest. There's a little bit of shock here because they don't really explain anything. So you just think it's normal for the head priest of this mortuary that goes around killing ghosts and killing zombies, vampires. So yeah, so the Master Gal, the head priest of this mortuary, and his two bumbling apprentices, are charged with the reburial of this rich merchant, who has a beautiful daughter named Ting Ting, and his beautiful daughter Ting Ting is very much into Western stuff. She has a beautiful Victorian style dress. The movie I think takes place during the early 1900s or late 1800s. Not sure. Would have been I think 1920s because they have rifles and the old Chinese automatic pistol, right? I forget what it's called. But yeah, so they're charged with the reburial of this guy's father, right? And it turns out that that his father's corpse is turning into a vampire because of regrets, right? And also it's implied that maybe the merchant family ripped off this feng shui master, so he may have had a dealing in that. So the movie is basically about the rich man's father's corpse turns into a vampire and is up to Master Gao and his two bumbling assistants, right? Have to go in and like fight the vampire, right? And there's a lot of slapstick comedy, slapstick kung fu action in the movie, right? There's also dirty jokes. There's like a subplot where a horny ghost tries to have sex with the more handsome of the two apprentices, right? And the Master Gao has to deal with it. There's like a funny scene where the horny ghost sees the apprentice riding along his bicycle at night, and she goes to this old guy, this uncle, whose like job is like to like I guess he's like a neighborhood watch guy kind of thing, because there's been vampire murders, right? And she goes to him, "Hey, uncle, I need a favor." "What kind of favor?" It's like, "I want you to molest me." He's like, "You're a dirty slut. You're trying to take my integrity." Right? And she uses her ghost powers to force him onto her, and like the guy sees this, and like beats the shit out of him. kicks kicks him in the chest, and he goes flying. He's like, but I wasn't doing it. If it was her, it's like, you dare explain yourself? Get the fuck out of here. Right? So it's like a lot of funny shit. Like there's lots of funny scenes, tension scenes, where like, because the vampires in the film detect people through breathing, right? So like if you stop breathing, you're momentarily blind to them. So like the weaker of the dumber of the two apprentices comes up with this bamboo like pole thing where he uses to breathe out of, right? When he can no longer hold his breath, so misdirects the zombie, only for it, like, you know, to be used against him, which is funny, right? It's a pretty funny slapstick kung fu comedy film. If you're somebody who likes the Stephen Chow films, you'll probably like this film, right? It has like a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Like, it's pretty highly rated on, like, you know, except for Letterboxd, where it has like kind of average reviews ratings. But I would say, yeah, this is I wouldn't say it's exactly a 7, but it's like a 6 point. Yeah, it's like a 6.5 out of 10. You can watch it on YouTube. So the second film I watched, is Aqua Teen Hunger Force Plantasm, which I think is the latest film. It's like the second film. It's the second Aqua Teen Hunger Force film, which directed by Dave Willis and Maiellaro, the creators of you know, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Which, if people don't know, I was a huge fan of them back in the day, but I kind of stopped watching them after season 5 and 6. Like, it wasn't that they weren't funny. The show stopped being funny. It's that it's kind of like, you know, kind of get burnt out in the humor. So like the movie is about like how, like, you know, the gang broke up, and like a lot of them are homeless. You got like Meatwad was living out of a dog shelter for a while. You got Master Shake was living on the streets. Frylock is working for Amazon, which is called Amazing in this film, and Carl like still lives at his house, right? And like the major plot of the film is Frylock is working at Amazing, and he befriends like the CEO of Amazing, which is like this tiny dwarf dude who I thought was voiced by Will Arnett or some shit, the guy from fucking Gob from fucking Arrested Development. Apparently it was Peter Serafinowicz. I can't pronounce this guy, but he was on a TV show with Will Arnett, and you might know this guy from Shaun of the Dead. He was the roommate and he voiced Darth Maul in Star Wars. So it's like, wow, that was him. I would have known, right? But yeah, the movie I thought was pretty good. There is some, like, it doesn't, though, my problem with the film, it doesn't really, Adult Swim and Aqua Teen Hunger Force back in the day used to be edgy. There aren't really any edgy jokes in the movie other than, like, Carl kind of makes, like, makes, like, has, like, a polemic, like, kind of, like, makes it, like, we need to bring back, like, toxic male masculinity, which, like, that was cool. They reference, like, a lot of films in the movie, and the movie kind of parodies Star Wars, but it at some points, but it was very much parodying the 2018 film Upgrade. Like, the entire secret plot of the film, right, is straight up they borrowed from fucking Upgrade. Which, if you haven't seen Upgrade, it's a fucking awesome movie. It's, like, directed by the guy who used to write the Saw films, but then left to work with Justin Lin, or what? Not Justin Lin. The guy who did the Insidious horror films, right? I forget the director's name, but, like, yeah, like, Upgrade, like, they reference Upgrade. They have, like, a Mad Max parody at the end, because, like, it's like you have, like, the Amazon amazing company has, like, and there's a lot of digs at Amazon, like, in the movie, like, the amazing guy, really short dude who's using Frylock to, like, Frylock said he could make him a new body to make him taller, right? And, like, his entire workforce for, like, the packaging and shit is, like, two alien races that both hate each other, right? And they're, like, they're basically slaves. They live out in cars for some fucking reason. Which, like, yeah, apparently, like, there's a lot of shit that going on at Amazon, apparently, right? A lot of digs at Amazon, right? And, yeah, the movie, it's a thing where it's not as random as the first film, but I think I liked the first film more. It was way funnier, in my opinion, and you had, like, Bruce Campbell was great in that film. In the 2 seconds he was in it. Here, there were no real celebrities, like cameos, other than maybe some basketball guy who I had no idea who he is. So it's like, which I was never into basketball, but it was like I knew I was somewhat, you hang out with people who were into basketball back in school and shit. So you would think I would, something would. They got some guy from the 90s or something. I would know who he is, but I have no idea. But yeah, like, the movie wasn't necessarily funny, but it was fun, right? And Carl was great, and Shake could have been better, but yeah, it was a decent film, right? Okay, the last film I watched, and this was, like, I don't know if the guy actually requested it, but, like, some guy, some new viewer, commented on my Fire and Ice review and was like, you should watch the 1977 film Wizards, which was also directed by Ralph Bakshi. I never watched this movie before. Major reason I never watched it was because, like, the art style looks a little goofy. And 2, I heard the movie's, like, really depressing. It's not entirely depressing. The film is an hour and 22 minutes. It's mostly traditional hand-drawn animation, but there are, like, bits and pieces where they use the rotoscoping that Ralph Bakshi is known for, and there's archive footage of World War II. They equate the evil wizard in the movie to all this who from World War II, and they even call him, hey, the new the new Jackler is dead or whatever. You know who I mean, right? And the film, I should say, stars David Proval as Necron 99 / Peace. David Proval, you might know from a lot of like mob movies. He was in The Sopranos, right? He had a bit part as the one of the pilots, cargo plane pilots, as in Monster Squad. You got Bob Holt as Avatar, Richard Romanus as Weehawk. Mark Hamill is in it as Sean for like 2 seconds. You got Jesse Wells as Elnor, and Ralph Bakshi as Fritz. Right? So this film, the film very much reminded me of the Shannara Chronicles, which is basically, that's like a fantasy world where it's like a fantasy world, but it's like supposed to be a post-apocalyptic, a fantasy world that takes place on Earth in a post-nuclear Holocaust apocalypse, right? And it's the same thing here, where it's like after the nuclear holocaust, it caused radiation and it created mutants, and you had the non-radiated lands that somehow still turn people into different fantasy races, like elves, dwarfs, no dwarves, elves and fairies. And in the Badlands, all the humans turn into mutants and frogmen. And like 3,000 years later, not 3,000 years, at some point, the queen elf in a village gave birth randomly to two twins, both of which were wizards. One was Avatar, and the other one was Black Wolf, right? And one is anti, technology and all that stuff. The other one is a bad wizard who's really into technology, wants to conquer everything, right? So 3,000 years later, the Black Wolf created basically World War II style Germany, and has an army, and his armies have guns and shit, and they're going around conquering, other countries, right? And they have these warriors called assassins, which one of our main characters, Peace, who joins Avatar's group, was an assassin called Necron 99, which is funny because there was a character in Fire and Ice called Necron, and there was a character called Dark Wolf, but here it's called Black Wolf. And he goes around killing people who believe in magic, and he shows up in Angor, I think it's the country's name or whatever, where Avatar is teaching the king's daughter magic, not knowing that they're banging. Which very Fritz the cat here, because her nipples are always hard in her onesie, right? And she's in provocative poses, right? And she has fairy wings, by the way, but I don't think she ever flies. And one day they're having a meeting with the president, and Necron climbs up through the window of this tower, where he shoots the president dead, and they capture Necron and basically brainwash him to be good. Right? And at that point Avatar's after being told of events by Weehawk, who's the elf warrior, they decide to go on a quest to Necron's, sorry, not Necron, Black Wolf's land to destroy his evil weapon, right? That he's using to conquer the other Elflands, which his major weapon is basically a projector that has like German World War II war film propaganda, right? And the holy fuck, dude. And I forgot to mention Black Wolf also has a demon army, right? So what do I think about this film? The movie is very heavy-handed with its political messaging, right? Which is, it's like the same basically shit, the same messaging as, you know, Shannara Chronicles, where it's like anti-technology, you know, be one with nature, hippie bullshit, right? Love conquers all that shit. But then, oh my god, I'll say this: the movie is very dark. You know, like Sean Mark Hamill's character, he plays like the king, young king elf or whatever, or prince, I can't remember, and he gets killed like mid, like, you know, discussion with our group of heroes, right? And they get blamed for it by the fairies or whatever. And, you know, it's fucked up because, like, you're seeing, like, these, like, you have all the fairy, like, elves and shit are very cutesy and everything. And they're just, like, you know, when they get killed, it's very brutal, right? There's brutal violence in the film, right? Yeah, so my major problem with the film, and it's kind of it's this thing where it's like really dark, but also has, like, you know, very, like, it has like not whimsical comedy, but you know, the film tries to be funny despite its dark subject matter. I really did not like the final confrontation between Black Wolf and Avatar, because, like, literally Avatar, they're about to have this magic battle, and Avatar just fucking pulls out a gun and shoots fucking Black Wolf dead. Well, Avatar, who's like anti-gun, you know, anti-technology, just pulls out a gun and shoots his brother dead. Like, because fucking, yeah. So it was like very, like, and like his brother's like, dude, like, I could fight you, but I already win. Like, either way, I win. And it's kind of bullshit. The ending's kind of bullshit. So he kills Black Wolf, and the demon forces disappear from the world, right? But he still has his regular army that has guns, that have tanks, that have fucking artillery. Like, there's a scene where, like, the army of elves show up to fight the, you know, and fight the country, right? And they're in a fortress with machine guns, artillery guns. They had no fucking reason to go out and meet them on the field of battle, but they do. So it's like, what? That was fucking dumb. And, like, you know, they said that, like, they have the country also has, like, a council of elders or some shit, of wise men. So you would think if anything happened to Black Wolf, they would take over and, you know, in charge of the mutants and shit. And no, it's just like the country just falls apart without their evil wizard. You know. So that made no fucking sense. And, you know, the movie also, it's like the movie ends with, like, Eleanor, the young apprentice to, like, you know, Avatar, running off to get married with, you know, with Avatar, right? And it's like, you know, like Avatar as a joke, you know, I'm like, you know, I got 1,000 years of living left, you know, I can get married. It's like, dude, you would think typically you would have the young broad and the young guy, male lead in the film, you know, hook up, but they chose, like, oh, we'll have the old guy and the young girl hook up in the film, man. I was like, holy fuck. I was getting Dragonlance fucking vibes from that. Because in the Dragonlance book, and even in the animated film, you have the sexy elf chick, who was like the childhood girlfriend of like Tanis. Um, he leaves her to go with the old guy. So yeah, I don't know what I think about this. Sorry, my friend's live stream just started. So I honestly don't know what I feel about this film because it's very dated and it's very heavily with his messaging. But like, I don't know, man. Is it? I would say it's about the same. It's the thing where I would give it probably the same rating as Fire and Ice, but I think I liked Fire and Ice more because Fire and Ice was, you know, it was consistent with its tone and shit. And you know, Fire and Ice, you know, had like to me had rewatchability. Here, like, didn't really this film other than the show it to like you know people who are like you know classic fans of fantasy. I don't know, man. I wouldn't really. I personally wouldn't really rewatch the film to be honest. But yeah, I would say it's at least a 6 out of 10. So yeah, that's it for this review, guys. Our next movie review is probably going to be Seventh Son with Jeff Bridges as the old man wizard hunter. Not wizard hunter, witch hunter. Alright, peace.